In this day and age, when you think of Dodge, only one thing comes to mind: SRT. Short for street and racing technology, over the last 2 decades, SRT has become Dodge's ultimate in-house performance brand. From turbocharged 4-cylinders to insanely powerful supercharged V8s, they have for sure been the team that's behind some of the craziest production cars to ever hit the streets. What's going on YouTube? It's Shot by Zai, and in today's video, we'll be breaking down every SRT ever released. Starting in 2003, despite popular belief, the very first car released that was bearing the SRT badge was the 2003 Dodge Neon SRT-4. With its 2.4-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder making 215 horsepower and 245 foot-pounds of torque, it was able to bring this little 4-door eco sedan to 0 to 60 in just 5.5 seconds. Shortly after the release of the SRT-4,
let's just say Papa was a rolling Viper,
we ended up getting a new and improved 2003 Dodge Viper SRT-10, which ended up replacing the RT-10 trim from the previous generation. And this new SRT-10 would have an 8.3-liter V10, making 500 horsepower and 525 foot-pounds of torque, with an insanely fast 3.7 second 0 to 60 all the way back in 2003. A year later, in 2004, we ended up getting a new addition to the SRT-10 family, which was the 2004 Dodge Ram SRT-10, which shared the same 8.3-liter naturally aspirated V10 from the Viper, making the same 500 horsepower and 525 foot-pounds of torque. That same year, the Dodge Neon ended up getting a power boost, bringing its final output to 230 horsepower and 250 foot-pounds of torque. Building strong on the previous 2 years, in 2005, we ended up getting 2 new nameplates added to the lineup. The first being the one and only V6 powered SRT, which was the 2005 Chrysler Crossfire SRT6. Powered by a 3.2-liter supercharged V6, making 330 horsepower and 310 foot-pounds of torque, bringing its 0 to 60 time to 5.2 seconds. And it was also available as a roadster, which also dropped the 0 to 60 time a little bit down to 4.8 seconds. That same year, we got the very first SRT-8 model, which I'm sure you are very familiar with, which was the 2005 Chrysler 300C SRT-8. Powered by the all-new 6.1-liter Hemi V8, making 425 horsepower and 420 foot-pounds of torque, bringing this luxury 4-door sedan to 0 to 60 in just 4.8 seconds. Going into 2006, we ended up losing the SRT-4 Neon, but the Chrysler 300 SRT-8 ended up getting some of its famous siblings to the lineup, which was the 2006 Dodge Charger SRT-8, the 2006 Dodge Magnum SRT-8, and then the 2006 Grand Cherokee SRT-8, which were all powered by the same 6.1-liter Hemi V8, making 425 horsepower. The only difference is the Jeep Grand Cherokee SRT-8 of that year made 5 less horsepower, coming in at 420 horsepower, but also had the plus of being all-wheel drive and having a 4.4 second 0 to 60. Now in 2007, we didn't get anything new, and with 2006 marking the final production year for the SRT-10 Ram and the SRT-6 Crossfire, they would be taken out of the lineup, making room for 2 more additions in 2008. Welcoming back the SRT-4, we ended up getting a 2008 Dodge Caliber with a new redesigned turbocharged 2.4-liter, bringing its power output up to 285 horsepower and 265 foot-pounds of torque. And last but not least, in 2008, the last release of the year would be the 2008 Dodge Challenger SRT-8, bearing the same 6.1-liter Hemi. Also that same year, the 2008 Dodge Magnum SRT-8 ended up getting a facelift, which was only for a 1 year only, since 2008 marked the final year of production for the Dodge Magnum. And then finally in 2008, the Dodge Viper got an upgrade to an 8.4-liter V10, bringing its horsepower output up to 600, dropping its quarter-mile time from 11.7 seconds down to 10.9. So in 2009, the Magnum is going out of the lineup, and we get nothing new. And then moving on to 2010, which will mark the last year of what we'll call phase 1, the lineup gained nothing, and it only consisted of the final SRT-8 Jeep, the 300, Charger, the Challenger, along with the SRT-10 Viper, while also losing the SRT-4 Caliber due to 2009 being its last year. For phase 2 of SRT, we end up losing a lot of the variety, but they end up tailoring their focus to the SRT-8 and the Viper platform, which you can't be mad at the results. For the year 2011, we only got one SRT in the lineup, which was the 2011 Dodge Challenger SRT-8, which had a brand new 392 Hemi, which was a 6.4 liter V8. Making 470 horsepower and 470 foot-pounds of torque. And then next year in 2012, unlike the Dodge Challenger, all three of the other SRT-8s that were added to the lineup got full redesigns, starting with the 2012 Dodge Charger SRT-8, which also had the same 6.4 liter Hemi, the 2012 Chrysler 300 SRT-8, and then the 2012 Jeep Grand Cherokee SRT-8, which was also all-wheel drive again. Finally, in 2013, we get the Viper back to the lineup, which has now dropped the 10 from its name and has switched production to just being the SRT Viper, which is now making 640 horsepower and 600 torque with a 3.5 second 0 to 60 and 11.5 second quarter mile time. And then moving on to 2014, nothing really changed. The whole lineup stayed the same, but this will mark the final year of what we call phase 2 of SRT. And then moving on to phase 3 of SRT, which is from 2015 onward, which is where I'm pretty sure most of you guys became familiar with SRT. Even though for a little bit we end up losing the 300 SRT-8 in the USA, but every remaining model received major updates and the power numbers really start to get exciting. Starting in 2015, we start off with 5 different models in the lineup, which will be the 2015 Dodge Challenger SRT 392, which had the 6.4 liter Hemi V8, making 485 horsepower and 475 foot-pounds of torque. This also had the 6-piston Brimbos carry over from the Hellcat, and also had SRT badging on the steering wheel, the seats, and other places on the car. Followed up after that, we had the 2015 Dodge Charger SRT 392, which also shared the same engine and the same 6-piston Brimbos from the Hellcat. That same year was the first release to the one and only Dodge Challenger SRT Hellcat, 6.2 liter supercharged Hemi V8, making 707 horsepower and 650 foot-pounds of torque with an insane 3.7 second 0 to 60 and a quarter mile time about 11.7 seconds. Next to the Dodge Challenger Hellcat, we end up getting the Dodge Charger Hellcat also with the same 6.2 liter supercharged Hemi V8 with the 707 horsepower, 650 foot-pounds of torque with a 3.5 second 0 to 60 and an insane 204 mile per hour top speed as a 4-door sedan, which made it the most powerful and fastest production sedan at the time. Now for 2016, nothing really changed. And then the same can be said for 2017, which will also end up losing the Viper in production in the year of 2017, so it will no longer be in the lineup. But next in 2018, Dodge has something in store that was crazy to replace the Dodge Viper, which was the new 2018 Dodge Challenger SRT Demon, which had a newly designed 6.2 liter supercharged Hemi V8, making 808 horsepower and 717 foot-pounds of torque, but was capable of making 840 horsepower and 770 torque if you put 100 octane racing gas in it. And it had an insane 2.3 second 0 to 60 with a 9.6 second quarter mile time. And with the Dodge Demon only being in production for 1 year and only 3,300 of them being produced, it was definitely Dodge's top dog for a while. Also that same year in 2018, we got the very first ever Dodge Durango SRT, which ended up having the 6.4 liter Hemi V8, making 475 horsepower and 470 foot-pounds of torque, and this was also all-wheel drive just like the Jeep. 2018 will also mark the final production year of the Dodge Charger and Challenger SRT 392 trim. That way they could tailor their focus to the Hellcat platform and give room for the RT Scat Pack. In 2019, with the high demand for something similar to the limited production Demon, Dodge decided to drop the 2019 Dodge Challenger SRT Hellcat Redeye, which was available in wide body and slim body variants, and it had a 6.2 liter supercharged Hemi making 797 horsepower and 707 foot-pounds of torque, which still kept the Dodge Demon on top with a little bit of a horsepower advantage. That same year in 2019, the wide body became an option for the base Hellcat Challenger, and it also got a boost to 717 horsepower and 656 foot-pounds of torque. Finally, in 2020, the Charger gets the BBL treatment, making the wide body a standard option from now on. That same year, we get the release of the Dodge Challenger SRT Superstock, which was basically a street legal Demon, which shared basically the same 6.2 liter supercharged Hemi, making 807 horsepower and 707 foot-pounds of torque. It had a 3.2 second 0 to 60. And with the Dodge Challenger SRT Superstock being in production for 3 years, only 1,610 were ever produced, which makes it even more rare than the Dodge Demon. Next up, in 2021, they dropped the Charger Hellcat Redeye, making the same power output as the Challenger Redeye, while also getting a new hood design. Also, they finally put the Hellcat engine in the Durango, making it technically the only all-wheel drive Hellcat in the lineup, which was supposed to be only scheduled for the year of 2021, and had a 3.6 second 0 to 60 out of a third row family soccer mom car. By 2022, the Hellcat lineup was pretty strong, but it was only lacking one thing from factory, which was customization. So in 2022, they ended up releasing the 2022 Dodge Charger and Challenger SRT Hellcat Redeye Jailbreak, which gave customers the option to fully customize every aspect of the Hellcat from factory, which opened the door for some pretty cool one-off combinations. Now next year in 2023, it would be slated as the final production year for the Challenger and Charger Hellcats, and Dodge brought back the Durango Hellcat, which was supposed to be limited to only the 2021 model year. That same year, Dodge revealed their exit from the internal combustion scene with the insanely fast 2023 Dodge Challenger SRT Demon 170, which had another 6.2 liter supercharged Hemi V8, pushing out an amazing 1,025 horsepower with an insane 0 to 60 of 1.66 seconds. And now that we are at the end of the lineup for every SRT that has been released over time, I thought it would only be true to give a shout out to some honorable mentions that didn't technically get to be labeled as SRTs, but still were lucky enough to be powered by SRT. And technically we can just break it down into engines, since a lot of the cars are just powered by SRT. So we'll have the 6.4 liter Hemi, the 6.2 supercharged Hemi, and then the 2.4 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder that was in the SRT4. You can see the 2003 to 2007 PT Cruiser GT ended up sharing the same SRT4 motor, along with the Dodge Charger Scat Pack and Dodge Challenger Scat Pack sharing the 6.4 liter Hemi. Also equipped with the 6.4 liter Hemi, we have the Jeep Wrangler 392, we have the Jeep Grand Wagoneer, and then last but not least, with the 6.4 liter Hemi, we have a Ram 1500, which has the 6.4 liter Hemi as standard, making 410 horsepower and 429 foot-pounds of torque. And then for the 6.2 liter supercharged Hemi, we had the 2018 to 2021 Jeep Trackhawk, which was an all-wheel drive 707 horsepower monster. And then we have the Ram TRX, which also had the 6.2 liter, making 702 horsepower, and also was all-wheel drive. So at this point, we have went over every SRT that has been released and every car that has shared an engine with an SRT. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's something new that I've been trying to work on. So let me know if you guys enjoyed it, and we can probably go ahead and go down the rabbit hole of making some more videos like this in the future. So just let me know in the comments. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys on my next video.
To a business, got me doing a dash, blowing gas, got me dropping ashes in the bin. I done been down at the bottom, I promise that I know.